Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. This is a hurling edition, and in this part, we're going to talk about the Tipperary versus Waterford game. Waterford seeing off their neighbours, beating Tipperary in the championship for the first time in 13 years. They won by 4 goals and 28 points to Tipperary's 2 goals and 27, 61 scores in what was a breathtaking game. Luke, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, look, first of all, I think we should pat ourselves in the back here, kind of in relation to how we predicted this game, because I think it went exactly how many people thought it would, because I think it was just Waterford's energy levels and their kind of speed. It was just too much for what really looked like an aging Tipperary side, and look, just the energy levels brought by Waterford was exceptional, really, and they're an absolute joy to watch, to be honest. And I know the scoreline was probably a little unfair on Tip at the end, considering some of the chances they had and the manner in which Waterford pulled away at the end. But I thought it was a completely fair result. And potentially a bit of an end of an era for Tipperary. A few of those lads might be moving on a little bit now, because a few of them start to look like they are starting to struggle with the pace now.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the key things, which was a feature throughout the game, was there were constant 2-point to 6-point turnarounds in the game, that Tipperary would miss a big chance and Waterford would always go straight down the other end and score themselves. And that was never more apparent than right at the end. What a save from the Waterford goalkeeper, Sean O'Brien. And it goes all the way down the other end and ends with Neil Montgomery hitting it into the back of the net to really finish off Tipperary. That was a brilliant goal by Montgomery, showed a lot of composure, fantastic finish. And to get that goal straight after, John McGrath's shot was saved by O'Brien, pushed over the bar, which that would have leveled the game. And then you'd argue it was Tipperary's game to win if that went into the back of the net. And yeah, that just shows the small margins of this game.
Yeah, completely. And we saw some huge kind of goal action as well. I think we have to kind of talk about the start of this game, where Waterford came out of the blocks at 100 miles per hour, looked by far the better team, and then 2 sucker punch goals from Seamus Callanan that it was just classic kind of Seamus Callanan, really, that he pretty much only had the ball in his hand 2 times in the entire game, and he gets 2 goals from it. So it's kind of surreal how he's kind of evolved. His game's evolved in the last few years, but it's kind of clinical finishes from them. And then we see Austin Leeson's goal as well, and ultimately then Desi Hutchinson gets it. And look, the level kind of excitement, the amount of goals in this game as well, it had absolutely everything. And then to see kind of Sean O'Brien step up at the end in only his third championship start, and to make a save like that to save the game for Waterford, it was just fantastic stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the key moments as well, Tipperary were constantly pushing. I couldn't believe they brought Mark Keogh on, and he changed the game. He was setting up goal chances galore for Tipperary. The one that stands out the most is the one on 66 minutes. He just set up a fantastic goal chance, well blocked by Waterford on John McGrath. But Tipperary, they seem to be having to be very, very patient. I understand what you're saying about this end of an era with this Tipperary team, and I completely agree. I think that they will never, with this crop of players, Noel McGrath, the Mars, I don't think they'll ever be as strong as they were in 2019 with this crop of players. But when you're talking about the young lads coming through, the only player really that impressed me that wasn't part of that 2019 team was Mark Keogh when he came on. Jake Morris got taken off, pretty early. He looked pretty poor. Tipperary, the young lads aren't coming through at the rate that they need to, and there's a barren spell on the horizon for Tipperary.
Look, I think it's an interesting one, because you look back to those under 21 and under 20 finals, and you just compare Tipperary to what Cork are. So if you look at Cork's team at the weekend, Cork had from those finals, they've Robert Downey, they've got Tim O'Mahony, Darragh Fitzgibbon, Jeremy Millerick, Mark Coleman was in those finals too, Conor Cahallam, Jack O'Connor, Shane Kingston, and then you've got even younger lads like Shane Barrett and Alan Connolly starting to come through. Then you compare this to what Tipperary had at the weekend. Paddy Cadell's in there, Jake Morris is there, and Mark Keogh comes off the bench, and that's it. So there's just I think it's safe to say that those lads from those All-Ireland winning teams they've just not featured whatsoever for Tipperary. And you're kind of looking like some of the lads maybe that there probably is a bit of frustration in Tipperary. The likes of maybe Brian McGrath's not playing, Craig Morgan, captain of that team, Owen Connolly was on the bench there, unused sub as well. And then, so like, as you look at other kind of as well, Billy Seymour hit a hat-trick in an All-Ireland final, has never even played for Tips. So it's kind of, it must be a little bit frustrating because the players seem like they might be there, and they've never really been given that opportunity to see if they can kind of cut it at senior level. So I think that there might be a fair old chance that those lads will be given a run next year to see if they have what it takes to be kind of senior quality players. And if they are senior quality players, then I still think that Tipperary can balance those guys with their star players, like the likes of Jason Ford, the likes of Ronan Marr. And you can have a bit of experience beside those lads and they can still be All-Ireland contenders. But I think it'll be interesting to hear what you think of that.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think it's time for Tipperary to go with the youth instead of their experience. Like, obviously complement the youth with experience, but they're definitely, 80-20 now in favour of the established players. And it's pretty clear, like, by the last couple of years that they're not going to win All Ireland with this lineup anymore. So it's time to switch it up. It's time to freshen it up. And I think Sheedy's a shrewd operator. I think he will do that. But then again, we're talking about this. Tipperary had the chances to win this game. There's no doubt in my mind. Tipperary had the chances to win this game. Waterford, coming towards the end, looked very shaky. And Tipperary didn't take their chances, and Waterford finished them off eventually. But one of the key moments as well, and I couldn't believe this when I was watching this, live. 54 and a half minutes, into the game, Tipperary got a huge goal chance made by a Mark Keogh pass. Surprise, surprise. He was fantastic. He's, again, another goal chance that came directly from him. He played it into Noel McGrath. Noel McGrath had an acre of space in front of him. And in my mind, he completely botched it. He completely made a mess of it because, number one, he didn't look like he was sprinting. He was away from the Waterford defenders, and he looked like he was running 3/4 pace. And then instead of shooting himself, which he should have done, he passed it across the square to a Tipperary forward. The pass was too high, so the Tipperary fella had to bat it, and it was well saved by O'Brien, and it came out to Callanan. Callanan did his best, pulled on it, but it went wide. And in my mind, Donald McGrath a few years ago catches that sprint and buries it in the net. So that was a huge moment. And when you're talking about the preparation, Liam Sheedy prepared his team that well. Noel McGrath should have caught that, ran with it and buried it. And it was moments like that where Waterford punished Tip and Tip didn't punish Waterford. And yeah, now I just think they've lost that killer edge that they used to have. Like, Waterford scored 4 goals and Tipperary are supposed to be the team that are goal hungry. So it tells me that they need to switch it up a little bit.
Look, it's tough on Noel McGrath because, like, we all know, like, what a fantastic hurler and what a fantastic servant he's been for Tipperary for so many years now at this stage. And yeah, look, he's like, even up to about 2 years ago, he was potentially could have been the hurler of the year that year, but the legs just don't seem like they're there this year, and he's just not performed at the same level. And I don't know, maybe perhaps like a role for him coming off the bench in a tight game. Imagine Noel McGrath coming on in about 60 minutes while that game is kind of still in the melting pot, and having him coming on fresh, kind of picking up kind of loose pockets of space when defenses are tiring. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that is the role that Tipperary should be looking at now, is that to try and get the workhorses on earlier, get the young kind of players coming through from those All-Ireland winning teams, and then you can spring the kind of experienced lads from the bench. You can pop the Noel McGraths then, Hoddy Marr come on to close out a game, Brendan Marr as well. And yeah, so it's an interesting one, I suppose. And but yeah, you're absolutely right in the sense that even despite kind of all these so-called shortcomings, they were still pretty much a strikeable ball away from going ahead in that game, barring like an exceptional save, really. So yeah, look, I don't think Tipperary has to do that much work going forward. I do think they need to rebuild slightly, but look, I do think that the players are there. I think they're in the county already, and it's just a matter of getting them enough game time and getting them established as senior hurlers. And look, Tip are going to continue to compete for All Ireland as this goes along.
Yeah, I agree with that. But moving on from Tipperary now onto Waterford, I think their running game again looked frightening at times, particularly for the Desi Hutchinson goal.
Yeah, completely. And just to kind of start it off, like, I suppose I want to briefly kind of talk about that midfield. And I thought, particularly in the first half, I thought Jamie Barron in the first 15 minutes was one of the most remarkable kind of passes, kind of 15-minute displays I've ever seen, really, where he completely took control of that game and he was absolutely faultless. And so him and Peter Hogan have developed an unbelievable midfield here. And just the pace of them is going to cause problems for absolutely everyone. So you complement them, their running style into it. You throw in Caleb Lyons, you throw in Kieran Bennett as well, Jack Fagan, and as well Jack Prendergast, who didn't score at the weekend, but created 2 goals and caused all sorts of bother kind of running directly at the centre of that tip defence. So you contrast him, his direct running style, with like Noel McGrath, who was kind of in around centre forward for Tipperary, and you just kind of see, I thought that was kind of the difference in the day, and the energy level was just exceptional.
Yeah, definitely. And, Waterford have really put together a nice base there, the team. And Shane Bennett, continues to impress me really in the defence. Obviously De Burka will come back and slot into that defence, but for the time being, Shane Bennett looks like a good option there.
Yeah, completely. He's absolutely grown into it. I think after the Laois game, people were starting to question it. They were saying that like moving him back to the half-back line, like it just, they didn't think it was going to work. But look, he's so composed in the ball, I suppose. That's the big thing. And that's what Liam Cahill's looking for, I suppose, is somebody with composure so that they can continue to kind of work it through the lines. And that's what he absolutely brings that Waterford team. Yeah, he's probably not the long-term option at centre half-back, especially when you have a De Burka and Neil Day coming through. But yeah, look, he's doing a job for them right there now. And they know, even like, sure, he can move at the wing back now. They know as well that if one of the big lads comes back in centre half back. But yeah, like I think another point I really want to make here is just the performances of Austin Gleeson lately. And I honestly think so far this year, he's in Hurler of the Year form. If Waterford go far enough, I think he's a great chance for another Hurler of the Year. He's played 4 games so far for Waterford, and I think he's been consistently probably their best performer all year. And I just think we're starting to see from Gleeson, after his Hurler of the Year, the following year, there's questions kind of about his consistency and if his ability to kind of perform week in, week out. I think he's absolutely answering them now. And I really think this is going to be the start of it here now, where we're going to see consistent years from Gleeson, which are going to be delivering all-stars.
Yeah, I agree with that. He looked like he's settled down. He was the youthful player, with flashes of brilliance. Under Liam Cahill, he seems to have, really kind of calmed down and settled into just an elite level hurler. When you look at the sidelines that he's hitting, that's outrageous. That's Joe Canning level. And he is probably, you could argue, the most talented player in the country. The things he's able to do are outrageous. And, he was never the most consistent, but now under Cahill, particularly this year, he's starting to look very, very consistent. I would agree with you. I think he is in Hurler of the Year form. As well as that, Desi Hutchinson in the inside line, like we talked about his goal. But he scored 1 point as well in the 31st minute, the dummy that he sold to Cahill Barrett, and then his footwork, and he's just slapped it over the bar. Just absolutely outrageous. And he is often left isolated up front for Waterford. But, the form that he's in, it doesn't seem to bother him. And a massive plus for Waterford as well, as they weren't that reliant on Stephen Bennett's frees this time, which they usually are.
Yep, absolutely. I think, and look, but the thing about Desi Hutchinson is that he's showing that even if there's 2 men on him, he's still capable of winning his own ball there, and that they know that they can hit up long ball to him and expect him to win it as well. So look, that's an unbelievable asset to have. And maybe kind of in the previous years, like before Hutchinson was involved, that's exactly what they were completely lacking. So yeah, look, look, that Waterford team is starting to look really, really good now. And yeah, look, just even throwing the bench as well. Another thing was people were kind of saying that maybe they had 13 top quality hurlers and they were missing kind of the rest. But look at Michael Kiley coming through as well. He's still under 20 eligible as well. So the level that he's performing at too is just remarkable, really. He could, I know I think maybe that Liam Cahall might leave him as an impact sub, but he's a great chance of starting that semi-final if they choose to go that way, because his form certainly suggests he's more than capable of playing there. And then we haven't even talked kind of properly about Neil Montgomery, and he only played for about 15 minutes and just produced one of the most complete kind of substitute performances ever.
Yeah, definitely. And in those last 5 minutes, it was surreal how Tipperary just fell apart. The way that they kind of just accepted that they're not going to win this game. And you talked about Jack Prendergast as well. He had Barry Heffernan marking him in the first half. And, Barry Heffernan has been known to shut down a lot of players. Like the job he did on Aaron Shanahan, the game previous. But the way that Prendergast just took him on in the first half, that to the point where Barry Heffernan gets taken off at half time, really shows the level that Jack Prendergast has gone to. And now, Waterford back in the semi-final again. And, obviously this year, with their injuries and everything like that. Bear in mind they're missing, the heartbeat of their defence in Tadhg de Burka. Like, in my mind, Tadhg de Burka is the best centre half back in the country. So to be missing him and to still, make the final four, and they've made it back to the semi-final, and make no mistake about it, they've done it the hard way. They've beaten two teams that at the start of the year, a lot of people would have put ahead of them in the pecking order to win All-Ireland. They haven't snuck in by beating Laois and Dublin, like, for example. They've come in by beating Galway and by beating Tipperary. So, they've earned their spot at the table here. And how much of a chance do you give them now?
Look, I think they've got the toughest possible ask playing Limerick. But look, I'm the more I watch this Waterford team, like, the more impressed I am every single time, and just the level of energy that they're bringing is just incredible. Yeah, maybe potentially they are probably the best equipped of the remaining teams to really put it up to Limerick. But I just think that Limerick just nearly have an air of kind of invincibility about them right now. So I think it's unfortunate for them that they're going to have to run into Limerick kind of at this stage for them a bit. But look, I really think they're going to put it majorly up to Limerick. But like, it'd take a very, very brave man to bet against Limerick right now. But just before we kind of move on from that, I just want to note that if you look at the age profile of this Waterford team, around the 25 age mark, you've got Conor Prunty, you've got Caleb Lyons, you've got Jack Fagan, Austin Gleeson, Jack Prendergast, and then a little bit older, maybe 27, 28, you've got Stephen Bennett, Shane Bennett, Jamie Barron, you've got Kieran Bennett around then as well. I'm sorry, I didn't even mention Desi Hutchinson for the younger as well, and then Michael Kiley coming through. So look, there's so much potential for this team, and if they manage to kind of keep hold of Lincoln for a while more, like, I'm sure that Waterford's All-Ireland fast won't be lasting too much longer.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team is blossoming really, really quickly. So, guys, that is our review of the Tipperary versus Waterford game. A fantastic game. And don't forget to look at all our other match reviews. And don't forget to catch our semi-final previews of Waterford versus Limerick and Kilkenny versus Cork.